Twice the terror.
Welcome to Twice the Terror. I'm Ryan.
And I'm political conversation over mashed potatoes.
Ooh, no. Nobody wants that. Nobody.
I have a PowerPoint ready for my father-in-law that explains that land can't vote.
Oh, Kat, I am so sorry. Well, the good news is for anybody listening, chances are this episode will be after Thanksgiving. So hopefully all of your horrendous Thanksgiving feast situations with Uncle, Jimmy John munching on the turkey leg and talking, politics and religion. Hopefully all that stuff is long gone in the past. But we still have a cool Thanksgiving treat for you guys. Kat, what are we doing today?
Well, we are joined by our friends, the Hannas from Horror Hour at the Hannas.
Woo!
I stumbled out. I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, Horror Hour with the Hannas is here, and we're gonna review Frankenturkey.
Yes, another Bone Chillers episode because all one person was clamoring for it. So, guys, why don't you talk about a little bit for anybody who doesn't know who you are? Why don't you go and talk about your show a little bit? What is it that you guys do?
Okay, well, I'm Hannah.
And I'm at Hanna.
And we have a podcast, Horror Hour with the Hannas. Basically, we record we record episodes reviewing horror movies. We talk about what in the movies works, what doesn't work for us, and we ultimately like to focus a lot on what the movie means, its thematic elements. We also do have like 2 reoccurring bits that are fun, like a 15-second summary where we just kind of off the cuff try and explain the movie in as dumb a way as possible. And we also have a Hannah hide count, Hannah screen count segment where we count how many times I hide or scream because it's almost never met.
We're trying really hard to prove that media literacy isn't dead. That's the way we're going with this. Like, we like to try to have some intellectual conversations about like the themes behind these movies and how the filmmaking services them. But then usually things get off the rails and we get kind of goofy with it. So it's kind of freeform conversation with little bit of structure to kind of get us to talk about like the why movies are awesome and why they're made. So.
Yeah, if you guys love, anybody listening out there loves like movie discourse or like when Kat and I talk movies and things, definitely listen to Matt and Hannah's podcast. It is so much fun. I've been catching up on the episodes I hadn't heard. I listened to the Malignant episode, and yes, Matt, I'm still on your side. It's it's such a blast. It's such a good time. Like, you guys do a fantastic show, and it's structured so beautifully in that like it just allows it to flow, but it also allows for ordered chaos to some degree as well, which is a lot of fun. Where can anybody find you guys?
We are really anywhere podcasts can be found. So Spotify, Apple, Amazon
iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
We're all over the place. And we got a YouTube channel, and then Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yep.
Which
at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram. And then what's our Twitter?
At Horror Hour Hannah, because that's all I could fit.
Yep. I think our Twitter's like that too. I think it's like all of our social media is Twice the Terror, except for that it's Twice Terror Pod or something like that, because it's Twitter and it's just the, an ultimate dumpster fire over there. But
we don't use Twitter.
No, we have it just to have it, but yeah, it's very rarely used. But that's not the point of this episode. Yeah, today we are talking, as Kat said, we're talking Frankenturkey, another Bone Chillers episode. We felt it was appropriate for the season. This is episode 4, I think, technically. Is that right? Yeah. So, you guys, I think when we talked last time, you had never seen nor heard of Bone Chillers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your first impression of this? Like, what was your take on Bone Chillers?
It was something.
The eye roll really sells it.
So I had never heard of Bone Chillers. So can you actually? I did no research to know what it is. So can you tell me what Bone Chillers is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Kat can actually. You know what, Kat? Why don't you explain it? Because I know you were like the first to bring this back up to me, something I'd kind of long forgotten.
So I was deep in the annals of Reddit, right? This is how it always starts. I vividly remember this show from when I was a child that my dad used to get from the library on VHS. And it was about these kids who went to this high school called Edgar Allan Poe High School. And I just remember an episode with a turkey, bugs, mustard, and then a kid with crazy hair. So I'm on Reddit and I'm like trying to find this show. Like, did I make this up or does this exist? And no, it's a real show. It was called Bone Chillers, and Bone Chillers was kind of like the great value version of Goosebumps.
Yeah, we did an awesome deep dive into it in a previous episode where we talked about kind of like how when it was created and how it was this, like, you know, at that time there were so many knockoff books based on Goosebumps, and there was this woman named Betsy Hayes who apparently was hired to do this. And that's a great I love that episode because we try and dive into who Betsy Hayes was, and there's so little information about her other than this possible photo of her on like Amazon of this older woman. And it's
there
like
was
that's
like a TV spot of her when they think the show came out on ABC Family.
I think it was just ABC. I think, yeah.
ABC. And she's just like a cute little old lady who just writes kids' books for a living, but what she kind of specialized in at the time was you take a popular series and you want to kind of ride on the coattails of that series, Betsy Hayes is your girl.
Yeah. And so she did like a version of the Babysitter's Club type book, you know, and things like that. And so after she created this, it was actually bought by ABC and produced into the show. That's a whole nother story in terms of the guy that created the show. And like the show really has very little to do with the books. I think there's only 2 books that were really adapted into episodes, Frankenturkey being one of them. Although that being said, the book, we're not even going to get into that this episode because it has almost nothing to do with the episode itself. It's completely different. But it's a fascinating watch. And also one thing I wanted to add too on top of it, because it's something Kat and I talked about for anybody who did listen to that episode. I asked, I was like, why would Disney not release this? What is going on? Because Disney owns ABC, right? And so it was a weird thing for Disney to produce this show. Turns out they didn't. This show was created and developed by ABC before it was bought by the Disney company. After the Disney company acquired ABC, they canceled every show that was in development or being made at that time. This was one of them. So we were always speculating, like, why did the show only get 1 season? Like, it must not have been popular. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the channel being acquired and Disney just being like, and just killing it. So it's this weird little kind of forgotten gem of a show with, like, some, I guess, Linda Carlini being the only, like, big name from it. But some interesting backstory, this weird kind of it's kind of chaos. I've said chaos a lot this episode, but it kind of is.
It is, yeah.
Although I will say, and you guys did you watch any other episodes, or were you like, we're one and done?
No, I was happy to see Linda Cardellini, and I like her, and I was like, I don't need any more. It did feel like a worse Goosebumps.
Yes. It's very much, the books are not structured in the way the show is. The show, you know, takes place around these like 4 characters the entire time. Books are like Goosebumps, where each one is its own story. You know, there's really no connective tissue between them or anything like that. But it is kind of like this weird, bizarre. And this episode is actually more structured than the first episode. I would say do you disagree, Kat?
I would say this episode was 50% screaming. And I have to say that the screaming was A+.
I wrote in my phone, I got plenty of notes here because I had to just like take notes while I was watching it. I think my final notes are that everyone's Jim Carrey was showing in this episode. Everyone is just dialed up to like 22. Like, if it's like they want them at a 10, they're at a 22 in this episode, and everyone's just like overacting and hamming it up. And the lightning was also back in full force, which is something we discussed, that this show is just full of an absurd amount of lightning that you would never do in a show today because there'd be so many flash warnings in it and everything, like no one would be able to watch it.
This episode was like ADHD to the max.
Yes.
And like I thought that was more of a newer thing, but this looks like something an iPad kid could be watching at a restaurant at full volume. Like
pretty much.
This is worse than those Skibbity videos or whatever they are. Like,
the Skibbity toilet shit.
Yes, that's what this was on that level.
It is. It is totally that sort of like insanity. And it's almost like, as a kid, I remember I was like, Kat, I remember renting these because after the show was canceled, they did release a few of the episodes on VHS and I remember renting them. And so I had these weird memories of it in the back of my brain, like the show that I was like, same with Kat. Like I remember this weird episode where the principal's like a frog, and then there was
Yeah.
this weird creature in a pot and like all this stuff. And so I did the same thing Kat did, and then that was a few years ago, and I kind of just, again, you just rediscover it, and then you just completely forget it, right? You go like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then it's gone again, until Kat mentioned on an episode, she's like, do you remember Bone Chillers? And it took me a second, and I was like, yes, I do.
I just had to know
Rewatching
that I wasn't like I wasn't just making this up, and then I'm just
Right.
like having a really long form seizure.
No,
And-
it seems like a fever dream.
It does seem like a fever dream.
right.
So we need to
I would
get
not
your
have
Hyde count. Like, what was your Hyde count? What was your
Well,
scream?
Hannah has a very primal fear of birds, like a
Yeah.
very real like phobia.
So this was like me riding the struggle bus the entire episode. The second a bird showed up, I was like, "Oh, I'm so fucked."
No.
And then yeah, every time it like gobbled, I was like,
great
"I'm
turkey
gonna start
sounds.
crying."
I was
I
gonna
kept
say,
doing them.
even though it looks like, did the fact that it looks like a Jim Henson puppet like help at
That
all?
made it
Or-
worse. It was
Okay.
worse. I think.
really?
My exact notes are: Gobbles is a fucking freak, and I find real bird scarier than Frankenturkey. I like him better.
Yeah.
So- So the
Yeah.
order goes like real birds, gobbles, and then Frankenturkey is like the least scary one, even though
Yes.
he's kind of like the quote unquote villain of the episode, I guess.
Yeah, he was easily the least scary to me.
Interesting. I love it. Well, we'll kind of jump around. We're not gonna do like I don't think we'll probably do as detailed as our last episode where we broke down in like an entire episode.
Yeah, I was gonna start us off with how the show opens.
Please.
I did not catch the joke though in the beginning of this episode. Every episode starts the little
Yeah.
quip underneath the title. Do you remember what
Yeah.
it was?
Let me see if I wrote it down. No, I didn't. It's they typically start with something like filmed in widescreen or, you know, some sort of like horror
Behind it.
vision type thing.
Just
So
'cause
and
it's gonna bother me if I don't know what it is. Okay. So
What
this
was it?
episode is filmed in Scaromorphic.
that's a stretch. That's not one
Yeah.
of their best written ones. That's pretty bad.
We open with Fitz drawing a photo for his friends for Thanksgiving. As usual, he's always drawing something, and he's watching a horror film that's kind of on like a Svengoolie dupe.
It's called Igor von Guli, and he's watching the movie Frankenstein's Brother-in-Law.
So we're gonna call this episode in our heads Skibbity Toilet's brother-in-law.
It is. It's chaos at the
And
beginning.
I would have rather watched Frankenstein's brother-in-law than Frankenturkey.
Fair. I was watching it going, somebody had a good time filming this
Yeah, I
because
was
I
like,
don't-
somebody has a vision at least. They get some
Yes.
artistic merit going here. You know?
Whenever the monsters sat up off the table and they all start like dancing, I was like, this fucking party's lit.
right? And an interesting thing about this too, and I know I don't know if you noticed this, Kat, because he's drawing and it's like the exact same thing. It almost feels like the exact opening to the first
Art into
episode.
today's life.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
again in that first episode, it's also a thing where like Fitz is drawing and Lexi says like, "Don't make it this weird thing," and like in that one the drawings all come to life and everything. But I was like, man, they're 4 episodes in and they've already like run out of ideas. They're repeating the same setup as the first episode. Okay,
Alright, sorry,
here's a
back.
question I have for you guys, because this is a question I asked Kat, and I still, at first I thought we came to a conclusion, but now watching this episode, I'm still unclear. Do these kids live at the school, or do they live at their own place?
I think
Because-
they live at their own place.
What kind of...
I would assume they live at home. I didn't even process that there was another option. Although
'Cause it's
obviously,
Very
I
very
understand
neglectful
this.
parents.
Yeah.
is what we're
Yeah.
saying. This
Yeah.
is like the Edda and Eddie or Peanuts parents. Those are very
Okay.
different shows, but not in the
Same
fiction.
There's no
concept.
parents.
Yeah, the parents are just absent. Yeah,
There's
because I was thinking about it. The first episode, I asked the question, like, is it like a dorm school, like a boarding school where they all live there or something? And then we came to the conclusion, like, oh, people are in their own bedrooms. And like, I think one of the characters says something about their mom. So we're like, okay, no. But then this episode, they're there early and there's this whole
Mhm.
setup with the principal, Mr. Pussman, about the turkey. And then like at the end, they're having a Thanksgiving feast with the entire class, like at the school. And so I was like, once again, I'm confused. Do these kids live here, or is it more than likely they're just like, we don't have the budget to build additional
Yeah.
sets, so these
They're
kids
just
are
very
just always at
involved in
school.
their school. we got spooky 4-H going on where we got this turkey that's like the school project.
Okay,
And
but also, what the fuck? Who
Yeah.
is just bringing in a random turkey?
To fatten up and slaughter.
What the hell is going on at this school where they're just like, yeah, we're gonna bring in this turkey and we're gonna fatten it
Slaughter
up
him.
and slaughter it. And you know what? That seems to be it's this weird motif in other shows. Have you guys ever noticed that? Like if you watch a lot of shows from the 90s, a lot of them deal with people being like, we bought a live turkey and then like we're gonna fatten it up and kill it for Thanksgiving. And then meanwhile, you know, whatever your character is, whether it's the Rugrats or Rocco or whoever, like whoever character is like, we got to save the turkey. And it's like, who doesn't just go buy a frozen turkey? You know, like what psychopath is actually out there buying a turkey, not like hunting a turkey? Like I get it, that's people have their own thing and they go out and they hunt and that's, you know, totally whatever, it's up to them. But like who's out there going and buying a farming turkey to live at their house to fatten up to kill for this dinner? That seems intentionally malicious and weird.
Yeah, unless you have a family farm,
Right.
you have no excuse to be raising a turkey.
Right. Especially on school ground.
like you're
And I
lining
have
up for a
families
holiday.
that raise chickens too, but like they raise them for eggs, so they're not just like
Different type.
killing their chickens
Right.
for funsies. Although, yes, I know it's a
I
different.
have a
type of
thought
chicken.
here.
Mm.
So clearly, big Thanksgiving wants more Thanksgiving media, right? Like we got Christmas, and you can make any kind of Christmas story, right? But the only kind of Thanksgiving story you can make is the real horror, which is having to sit down at a table with a lot of family, extended family, have conversations you don't want to have, right? So
Yeah.
what's the other option other than to have some weird turkey story?
That's
Right.
true.
You got a point. Like
That's the
as
only
I've
option.
said before, and I'll say again, the Hannah's opinions are correct.
Yes. No, it's true.
It's
like
big Thanksgiving.
I stand by the fact that, like, I know people get mad about, like, Halloween starts in July, and it's like, whatever, or, like, Christmas starts in the end of October. I get it. People are angry about that. But, like, we really don't need Thanksgiving. It's kind of like, you know,
The middle child.
it's this awful holiday that, like, is just, it means it's so, other than just getting around and sitting around with family, like you said, and having, like, turkey, it's like, there's nothing else to it. Everybody's more excited about the next day going like Black Friday shopping than they are like
Not actual
actually
Thanksgiving.
right.
It is the best food of all the holidays, though. Like I'll stand by that. Like I always think Christmas is like a step down in food.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's
maybe
It's because it's the only holiday that has like an actual meal that you consistently do. Like all families do something different for Christmas.
That's true.
Also,
That's a
like
good point.
turkey isn't even good, so I don't even know
yeah,
if I would agree.
the turkey haters are gonna come get you, but I agree. I'm not. Everything else is better.
See, I enjoy turkey, but see, my family growing up, we did on Thanksgiving, we often had turkey. I'm sorry, on Christmas, we had turkey and prime rib. Like my dad would cook both
There you
because he.
go.
So to me, like turkey, I also more associate with Christmas than I do like. I mean, I associate with Thanksgiving, of course, because we would have it then. But like my wife's family, they always did ham on Christmas. So when I told her like turkey wasn't that important because it was like we had it on Christmas too, she was like, I don't get that. We only had turkey on Thanksgiving.
I feel
So
like my family's so like confused because I have one uncle who's Filipino and one uncle who's Italian. So it's like, all right, we've got pancit, we've got tortellini.
That's how it should be.
yeah,
Sounds great.
We did
And
lasagna
then-
Christmas once. It was great.
Oh, lasagna is it's what it needs. Like I wish I could get a good Christmas lasagna, but I can never get that because my mom's a ham bitch. So I gotta do fucking pineapple and ham every fucking year.
well,
That's
but
what we
okay,
used
so
to do when I was little until my mom got lazy and it was
Mm.
easier for her to make pasta, but I'd
we go.
actually
That's
prefer
the way to
that,
go.
I think.
So
Pasta's
then-
good.
what okay, so if we were to break it down, obviously Thanksgiving is eating and it's turkey and it's family issues. Is there any other topic you could do? I mean, I guess you could do
Genocide of Native
I
Americans.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
you know, that used to be the thing of like the Pilgrims, and then you're like, you get older and you learn about real history, and you're like, yeah, no, it wasn't.
And you're
like
like,
that.
why did they want them out of Holland again? And then you like go even further back and
Can we just like, you know, we've started to change other holidays like Columbus Day that are very questionable and stuff. Can we just kind of slowly like get rid of like Thanksgiving, fade it out, and make
But
it
we
like
have. That's what I'm saying. We've turned it in. It's the food holiday now.
Yeah.
It's like we've done. I get Big Thanksgiving has done a good job of like retconning the history now.
Yeah, I haven't
Sure.
haven't heard reference of pilgrims in a very long
No.
time.
No, yeah, you're right.
Thanksgiving
Like,
is the #1 sales day for pilgrim costumes. I'm pretty sure. Like it
I
exists
mean-
to sell butterball turkeys and pilgrim costumes and nothing else.
look, that
As far
might
as-
change now with Eli Roth's new Thanksgiving movie coming out. I mean, that might skyrocket now during Halloween and stuff if that
Aren't
movie does well.
Pilgrims like actual religious freaks though? Or am I like is
They
that
are.
misremembering?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
They're
what I thought.
Puritans. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
which is like been a stain on our culture, like for
they're
the-
a reason our
Pilgrims-
country is so kind of like reserved and fucked
Like-
up. If I'm being totally
Yeah.
blunt and
No,
honest.
you're right, and it's getting weird again in terms of like anti-sex culture and things like that, and it all
Yeah.
stems back to them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So
If you
I just want to
know
make sure because
how-
I feel like when you learn pilgrims, you don't really talk about like, oh, the reason they were leaving is because they were too fanatical for the people in Europe.
yes.
Legit.
Okay,
They
all right.
Yeah.
banned
I just want to make sure I
Christmas.
understand.
Yeah.
They banned fucking Christmas. Like,
Yep.
bruh.
The
And then-
Christian holiday.
Yeah, like
And then they co-opted all the awesome pagan holidays that are Shannon was telling me the other day she was on TikTok, and now there's this weird trend of people being like, here's some TikTok Christmas trends you can start, and it's all old pagan stuff that she's
Love
like, it's
that.
not fucking Christmas, it's Yule, get it right. More power to anybody who likes Thanksgiving, I guess, but
I'll say I do like it, but just for the food.
Has nothing
Yeah.
to do with anything
And
else.
like I'll say the family Thanksgivings we have been tame for the most part. So
yeah, no, I would,
Okay.
His
I would
family
agree.
doesn't really get into any shit. My family tries.
yeah.
They definitely try.
Like I said, I got a PowerPoint ready. This is why I have my camo, my Straub camo. This is my Thanksgiving outfit. It's just orange and camo. Getting ready.
I think that's correct.
To get back to the plot, there's a moment that drove me crazy in this. And I want to see if you guys were bugged by this. They're talking about fatten up Gobbles, this turkey, which by the way, like I said, is a puppet, I believe, created by the Jim Henson Company. And it's a good puppet. And it's
It was good.
Fucking horrifying
Uh-huh.
monster. Literally,
Apples
Oh,
the
and
first time he
oranges.
came on screen, I spit out my dinner. I was like, I can't do this.
This was almost my second ever spit take on the show. So
But the thing that drove me crazy is the kids keep suggesting, like our main characters keep going, you should get a butterball instead. And it's like this thing that drove me crazy because I'm like, they're not advocating something like you should get a tofurkey or you should get, something else. It's like, hey, we don't want you to slaughter this turkey.
But
Let's go.
any dead turkey is fine, just not this one.
Hey, that's the real meaning of Thanksgiving right there. is
Right. It's
Don't slaughter my thing, but it's okay if we go take theirs.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
I'm fine with this, but as long as my hands don't personally have to get dirty, I would just prefer.
maybe this is a much smarter episode than we thought. We
I think
really-
it could
Think
be.
we're talking
This is a
ourselves
deep
into
fucking
thinking
episode.
this is genius.
Well, what happens is they end up enlisting Carl, who is hands down still the best character on the show.
I have so much love
Uh,
for Carl. I am Carl.
Who the
Carl
fuck
is the
Carl.
cook.
I don't know who
remember
Carl.
Carl is the cook. He's the guy that helps them create the Frankenturkey.
greasy
He's like
lunch
greasy, long hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This show clearly went in and then it's gone immediately. Like
Oh God, yeah. Trust me. If this is your first, I can only imagine. Watch. Well, I mean, don't, because it's it doesn't sound like you
I'm
were
telling you,
way into it. But the
it's
first
the toilet,
episode,
the skibbity toilet videos, same thing. In and
the
out.
first episode when we decided to record that first episode, I was like, I had to watch it twice because I was like, there is so much happening. My brain I'm 33. I'm gonna break a hip just watching this episode. Like, I can't do this. My brain can't keep up. So I totally get where, like, the idea of like, who the hell, and I said that to Kat. I was like, who the fuck are some of these characters? Like, who are we-
I know who they all are. The
Yeah.
thought of Carl is a lot like Carl's cooking. It goes in and then it immediately comes out.
Yes,
It is.
exactly it.
Also,
anyway-
on the discussion of the decoy turkey, the monster, like he's just a frozen turkey, and that is
Yeah.
my favorite part.
Frozen
is that
turkey
they
with
made
some
him
like
of a frozen turkey. He could have been made of anything, and they still had to use a fucking dead turkey.
right. Yeah, exactly. They still went out and bought a frozen turkey, which again kind of defeats the purpose a
Yes.
little bit. I know we were just kind of talking about that, like the idea of like raising a turkey just to slaughter it is crazy. Go buy a frozen turkey. But I think it's also, you also have to understand, which these characters clearly do not, that turkey was also still once living. Like it's
Yeah, he
not
was still a live turkey at some point.
like you kind of have to understand that. I get it. I get it. There is a difference, but still, you kind of have to know what you're doing is not just creating a
Right.
fake turkey. You're just
Not all of us got object permanence, okay? So like
They were old enough. They should have it.
That's true. They
Their
should
brains
be
have
somewhat
formed
aware.
enough.
We should be asking, do turkeys have souls? That's like
Ooh.
really, you know.
This is the deep question of Thanksgiving.
turkeys, yes. Geese, no.
Geese
Yeah.
are demons from hell. That is
Dude,
true.
A
So are
bunch of
ducks.
years ago, wait, this is morbid, but a place where I grew up, a
They know
bunch
it.
of geese like drowned a dude.
North Park, right?
It wasn't North Park. No, it was Treesdale Country Club.
Oh.
If anyone.
Holy
A country
cow.
club? Okay, that's class solidarity. I'm here for it.
Well, I know he was a worker though. It
oh
wasn't-
no!
no, I'm lying. The way my mom described it, she called him a geese whisperer, which was someone that was supposed to like go move the geese, and then the geese like flipped his canoe and drowned him.
So he's like the guy
don't-
that he's
I
like
don't
Grizzly
know.
Man, but for
Don't
geese.
look it up. I might be lying.
What a roller coaster!
And then at North Park, they like rounded up the geese and gassed them. It was weird. There was at North Park, yeah. This is not.
Fucking bird genocide in Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, there was the calling. It seemed a little unfair, but compared to hunting.
When I went to college in Idaho, there was a point where I was running around a track, they had this nice like walkway area, so I would go running around it when the weather was nice. And at one point, 3 geese surrounded me and just began to hiss at me, and like I just slowly back out, keeping my eye on one behind me because it was just like they're just assholes.
Imagine if you were in the water.
That's
Imagine
true,
how
I
much
would've been-
therapy I would need if
Oh,
that
yeah.
happened to me.
It would have been me and the geese whisperer. We would have had like
Underwater, yeah.
Final goose story. I used to live in Michigan. I went to film school north of Detroit, like 15 minutes north. And I got trapped in my apartment by a family of geese. Fucking super aggressive Canadian geese. They did not act like Canadians. They were not nice.
no.
They were not polite. They did not say they were sorry. That bitch hissed at me. She had goslings and they were ugly as fuck. And I told her. Fuck
Did she
them
have
kids.
Ryan goslings?
You just kick him.
Thank you. I'll see myself out. Anyway,
Yeah. What the
um,
fuck is this episode?
I-
This episode is a lot like Bone Chillers. What the fuck is happening?
it's true.
If we did
So
go off
anyway.
the rails, I don't think we could talk about this episode very much. So
That's fine. I mean, yeah. So they enlist Carl. They out of like duct tape and construction paper and stuff. They try in a frozen butterball turkey. They
Yeah,
try
it
to
was-
make a Frankenturkey. It
Hardware
doesn't
and
work.
turkey.
They try to like electrocute it. That's like the only part that's like the same as the book, is like this idea of them like trying to make a fake turkey and bring it to life. So anyway, doesn't work. Fitz throws it away. And then lightning strikes, of course, because it's Bone Chillers, it has to be a lightning strike. It strikes the garbage can, gobbles, runs away, and Frankenturkey lives. Now, okay, so Hannah, you said you kind of liked Frankenturkey?
No, I did not say I liked him.
Mm.
I said he is the least scary of the options because at least he just looks like a fucking freak and you know what you're getting with him. Gobbles is supposed to be like a real fucking turkey and he just looks like a monster also, but he's not supposed to look like a monster.
So he's like
They
the
both
equivalent
haunt
of
me.
he's the equivalent of the lipstick demon, like in Insidious. You think Frankenturkey's going to be terrifying, and then you see him and you go,
Yeah.
oh,
Literally,
oh.
yes.
In my
house.
notes, I have this episode is unhinged, and the rise of Frankenturkey is the most terrifying fucking thing I've seen in a kids show.
Okay, we're getting. I love it. Various opinions. Matt, thoughts on Frankenturkey? Scary or not?
okay. Oh, with the show or him himself? Or-
Him himself.
Oh, Hannah has a note that I agreed, but I like when they ripped off the Jurassic Park raptor shot.
Mm-hmm.
Frankenturkey, that was, but I don't know. I think
He has some accent.
there's too
Excellent
much else
villain
going on
shots.
for me to be worried about Frankenturkey.
There's some shots where it's very like I love the puppet, but there are shots where it's very clearly just a guy in a suit. and it kind of like loses. They're trying to use force perspective, and it just doesn't work completely, and it feels weird. Like this big guy and just like probably some craft service guy. They paid an extra $100, and they're like dressed in
Oh
this
no,
Frankenturkey.
I know exactly who it is. And you're gonna
Really?
hate this.
Okay,
But
who is it?
you didn't notice that. Okay, so in the Frankenstein's brother-in-law, the monster comes off the table and it's very obviously a little person.
Yes.
It's
okay.
the same,
It's the same.
Oh.
which
Gotcha.
is like, oh, little people
No,
already
that's
get really
mean-
degrading roles in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and he got stuck being both a monster and a turkey in one fell swoop.
Poor man. Playing a turkey.
It fucking
Did you look him up? Did he have like any other credits?
dude, no, come on. Like I eyeballed that shit.
So it's
I
not
was-
like Warwick Davis. It's not like,
Oh.
some famous like, he was an Ewok and Frankenturkey.
Looking
Like-
up the credits for an episode like Frankenturkey is first off extremely difficult.
Finding
But-
anything about this show is almost impossible. They split up and they're trying to find like the turkey. I'm trying to find Gobbles. Although I did write down a good line that I actually thought was legitimately funny, which is when they run in. I think it's Lexi and Fitz run into Carl, and they think he's the turkey, and Carl goes, "It's not the first time I've been accused of being a turkey."
I wrote
And
that
I
down
was-
too.
I was like, "That's a legitimately funny line." I'll give them credit for that.
What does
'cause
that
Another
mean now?
line. I don't understand.
It makes no sense, but I'll give them
But
just
you liked it.
Yeah.
Another line that does make sense to me that I wrote down was later they say about Gobbles, that turkey's a chicken. I was like, I hate it here, but I love it.
Whenever they are talking to so whenever they were going to like create the fake turkey, there was a line that really stuck out for me in that episode, and it was when Carl said something like, "He who doth tamper with the with the tones of nature opens the
yeah.
doors of disaster, or the forces of nature opens the doors of disaster." And Brian just leans in real close and he's like, "You should know. You do it every day with your cooking."
Is Brian the really fucking annoying one? Because one of those boys,
The one
I
that-
was
the one
like,
that
I'm
hits on
gonna
Linda Cardellini?
slap you so hard,
Yes,
dog.
the one with like the crazy like blonde hair and stuff. Like
Yes.
that's Brian, and then
That
Fitz
man
is
did
the
not
guy who
deserve that job.
is like D-list Jim Carrey.
So Brian's my favorite.
He was such an irritant. to
Brian
me.
feels like he's very like Pauly Shore inspired.
Yeah,
My
but not
opinion.
as good as Pauly Shore.
No,
which
no.
like people shit on Pauly Shore, but I'll give him credit for like crafting a very distinct character. But
No
Brian
one's
is,
ever repeated it. Yeah, so
yeah,
there's no other
Exact-
Pauly Shores except maybe Brian.
that's true. It's-
Brian.
Also finding out who these people are is like we know I think we looked up the actors before, but a lot of them just have been in nothing other than Linda Cardellini. She's like the
tracks.
only person who's like had any sort of
I screamed when I realized it was her.
He like shrieked.
I did the Leo point to the TV meme. Yeah.
After they all split up, they're looking for Gobbles. No one finds them. Frankenturkey shows up and then just flies away. And then Gobbles runs into Frankenturkey. About it. No comments on that. After that, the next day, the principal sends everyone out to find Gobbles. And then the bully, Kirk, his girlfriend, and his best friend are looking for the turkey because they're obviously going to kill. By the way, this guy, this like super douchey guy, that
like,
guy, Kirk, is
Clearly
like
would
awful.
have an alpha male podcast today. Like
Yes, he's
very
like the
obvious.
Joe Rogan equivalent. Like that's
Yes.
him. He's in multiple episodes. So
Oh god.
What
isn't
color is
that
his
fun?
Bugatti?
So anyway, everyone's looking for Gobbles. Our gang of good characters, whatever you call our main characters. They find Gobbles first, but then Frankenturkey attacks and steals Gobbles and like flies away. They find Gobbles, who has been tied up to a chair, which I actually thought was kind of brilliant. That Frankenturkey literally tied Gobbles to a
I
chair.
laughed out loud.
I did enjoy that. I thought that was
I
good.
also laughed out loud whenever they were chanting "Turkey, Turkey,"
Oh,
and I saw
yeah.
the visible confusion on the extras' faces when they're like, "Turkey."
Probably extras getting paid in like a cheese sandwich and like $5, and they're just like the director's probably just like shout fucking turkey, you know, and that was about it. And they're just like, all right, turkey.
That's Hollywood.
Um, so anyway, everyone finds Gobbles tied up. Frankenturkey attacks him again and chases Gobbles around. Fitz and Lexi leave, but they save Gobbles, meeting up with Sarah and Brian. And then they do the stupid Matador trick into the oven, which is so lame. It's
Yeah.
it's been in so many things, and it doesn't help this episode at all to like have that joke. Just bad. Anyway, Frankenturkey ends up in a giant oven, which why this school is a giant oven, who knows? But and then the episode ends with everyone eating Frankenturkey, and Gobbles
Butterball.
is in disguise.
Also eating the turkey.
Well, they do say he's a
Oh,
vegetarian.
cannibal
They
Oh,
give him
that's
feet.
right.
Yeah, they
that's
give
right.
him seeds.
I
Which
I
I really
remember that.
want to emphasize Carl's carving skills here, where he's just like open hand palming food onto your tray.
Yep. Also, this entire school is like dressed as pilgrims. So
Classic.
it's
Something.
well, thoughts, everybody. Thoughts. All right. If you guys on your show, you rate things out of 10. All right.
Oh,
What
you're
would
gonna
you?
make me rate this?
How
Well,
many
I know,
Gobbles?
Points I want to mention.
Yeah, I have a couple
Oh,
things I got to say.
please.
Okay,
Please.
first, the filmmaking. There's so many like Dutch tilts, canted angles. I was like, oh my god, I can't handle this anymore. At first, I was like, wow, artistic touches. Love that for you guys.
Man thought he
and
was
then
making
I was
a
like,
noir, you know.
and then I was like, I'm dizzy. Please stop doing that. But the Jurassic Park references really got me, as that is like one of my favorite films of all time. There was like the scene of his feet, like the Velociraptor feet, like clacking on the kitchen floor, and then it's so beautiful of a representation of the kitchen Velociraptor scene, which is one of the best horror scenes of all times. Oh my god, chef's kiss, and that really turned around this episode for me.
Really?
All right.
Okay. Matt,
At least
your
I'm like
thoughts?
self-aware.
My thought is, and this is a problem I have with all Frankenstein media, is you're missing the point of Frankenstein. Like, let's rewrite this and have it not be Frankenstein's not just a monster that comes to life and is dumb and tries to kill things. Frankenstein's like, why did you create me? Why I'm
Right.
intelligent? Why doesn't he like me? Make me a wife, please. Like, let's go with that angle, right? Frankenturkey wakes up and is like, I want a mate.
He just
And
wants
like,
to fuck Gobbles.
yeah, he just
Yeah.
that could have been the route. Yeah. And he's confused. He's like, what is existence? You know, and like it's
So rather
trying
than
to
questioning the ethics of the science around why he is here,
yes.
he's just
Yes. And then he
violence.
gets into a fight with the kids, right? And the kids try to, like in the book, are trying to, you know, put him down, and he's just looking for a wife to be created. You know, that should be the
And
route
it
we
should
go.
have just ended up being a beautiful love story
Yeah.
between
Gobbles
Gobbles and
and
Frankenturkey is what I
that would be
preferred.
more thematically on point, right?
Well,
Is
in
that your
actual
OTP? Are you
Frankenstein,
sticking with
then
that?
they just kill the female creature before they even bring her to
Well,
life, and
yeah,
all the
that's right.
women die. So if it really
And
wanted
then,
to be
yeah.
a thematic representation of Frankenstein, every female character should have just had no agency. But you know,
That's a
I'm
good
okay with
point.
that.
Yeah, I mean, Frankenstein really is. I know it's a classic, but that book really is half a book of a doctor whining, "Oh, woe is me," and then the second half of the book of the creature whining, "Oh, woe is me." It's a lot of whining in
That's- but-
Frankenstein.
I want that. Let's do that with our turkey story.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did think, I agree with you. When I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is gonna end up being something like Gobbles is just, or Frankenturkey is just in love with Gobbles, or something like
Mhm.
that. Like it's gonna be like end up with a sweet ending. No, they just murder it. Just-
Yeah.
The
Yep.
show isn't clever enough to go that route.
It's actually crazy how much like the Universal Frankenstein has just changed like the story. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I guess those are good, but every like other iteration, I feel like we get further and further away.
Yeah.
If I
From, like,
hadn't read Frankenstein in high school, I would have no fucking idea what it's actually about.
True.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That was the same thing with me. I read it I was in a sci-fi literature class, and so we read a lot of the classics, and reading Frankenstein at times, granted it was high school, Ryan, but it was like pulling teeth at times to be like,
Hey.
God,
Oh, yeah.
everyone, please stop whining.
We're gonna get saved though. We're gonna get saved because there's gonna be the Andrew Garfield, Oscar Isaac Frankenstein movie in a couple of years. And
Really?
like
I didn't even know that was happening.
yeah, Oscar Isaac is playing the monster. Andrew Garfield's playing the doctor, and I'm a piece of shit, but I don't remember what woman is cast as the like lead. and I'm upset. Oh,
What woman is in Frankenstein?
the wife, Dr.
That
Frankenstein's
gets
wife.
like
Yeah.
deaded
Yeah.
kind of early.
Is
She
it
has no
early? I
agency
can't
of
remember.
the
Yeah, but
role.
it's a famous person they cast, and I can't remember.
Maybe I'm a piece of shit too because I didn't remember
Yeah.
anything.
You said it might have been Anya, but no, I'm
All
not
I can
sure.
think of is young Frankenstein. So
Mhm.
Hey, that's at least a little closer, right?
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it's like you could have made the analogy between with the Frankenstein story, it's like, okay, I was forced to live, but then you have this turkey story where it's like I was born to die. But they're completely missing the nuance of what they could have created out of these stories, and they're just like, let's just have a running of the bulls moment with a cartoon turkey puppet.
Well, and I think the thing that boggles my mind anyway is the fact that, like I said, I was watching this episode and I was like, okay, this feels slightly, I don't love it, but it's slightly more structured than the first episode. So I went in and I started researching on the book and stuff, because I have the book, but I haven't like sat down to read it yet. But I was like, all right, I'm just going to read through the plot. It'll take me an hour to read the book, but I'm just going to like read through the plot. And so I did that, and I was like, they have a story here. Like, they literally could have just done this story with the characters that they created for the show, and instead they made this whole like new story that just like doesn't really work. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's just like, we wanted to make a monster turkey. The monster turkey doesn't even cause havoc. Like, Frankenturkey doesn't really even do anything in the book other than steal, in the show, I mean, other than just steal gobbles and chase them a little bit, and then they cook it alive. You know, and it's like you said, Matt, they could have had some like existential, although I think that's a little above Bone Chiller's pay grade.
No, but that's funny though. That felt like
That
a
is.
show that could go like kind of avant-garde with it, and all of a sudden, like this kid's show just goes full on, existential dread.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would
Like,
have
I
been
would have,
hysterical.
yeah. And it's just, the show is, like I said, they have this weird thing where, as much as I do enjoy, I think there's a lot of cool aspects about this show, in terms of like, I do love legitimately like the set design, and I love the like they didn't really show that much in this episode, but there's this really cool model they build for the school that's like this miniature that's really cool. And there's some like goofy, the first episode for sure has some truly great creature design, like legitimately like weird, crazy, creepy, funny character creature design, which I really like. But with this one, it felt just a little like flatter. There's something about it that it was still that same amount of like chaos, but it was less fun. I don't know, Kat, what did you think?
I mean, okay. So I definitely agree with you, Hannah, that like the filming style gives you a little bit of seasickness because you just can't really get your bearings because everything is so, you're all Dutch angles and dolly zooms and shit. But it felt like 50% Godzilla sound effects and running and screaming with a little bit of a story. But again, the story is so weak compared to other episodes. Like, I think that Art Intimidates Life is actually far better than Frankenturkey, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's more going, it's more chaotic and more kind of like hard to focus on, which again, like is saying something when this episode's already kind of hard to focus on. But there's a lot more creativity and ingenuity in that episode. That's like, they have some stop motion miniature stuff. They have some, people in masks and suits. They have this fun concept. Angus Scrim, the tall man from Phantasm, has a cameo in it. Like, it's a more fun episode. And this, for the great concept it has, just doesn't quite meet those standards, I would say. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thoughts on Frankenturkey. I was trying to think if there was anything else I really wanted to mention, but that was kind of about it. I do think, with all of its chaos, and I didn't love this episode, there is a weird merit to this show. There is something about this show that I think is weirdly charming. I think it's kind of like this bizarre show, which is like everybody feels like they're going for it. Doesn't always work, but everybody feels like they're committed 100% to making this show. And I think that's why we keep coming back to it. There's an earnestness to it. In a weird...
I think Ryan just has a crush on goth girl Linda Cardellini.
obviously we don't normally rate things, but I do love on your show that you do. So if you had to give this a number, guys, out of 10, like your show, what would you give it?
It's better than Annabelle.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I enjoyed it more than Friday the 13th.
Ooh, my soul.
With all that being said, though, I'll rate this episode at a 4 out of 10, I guess.
That feels right.
Fair.
It's again, it's better than Annabelle. Probably
Fair.
one of the worst horror movies ever watched, if I'm being honest.
I'll give it a 4.2 out of 10 because I
Awesome.
feel
4.2.
like engaging in substances would have made this.
Oh, I
even
get it.
better.
I see what you're saying. 4.20. That's what she's
Yeah.
trying to say.
There you go.
You know.
Yeah.
But in this case, we'll just say roast it because it's a turkey.
Yeah.
Blaze it. I'll walk
Get a little
myself
fried,
out.
fried turkey.
Yeah, fried turkey. Yep. Baked, double baked turkey. And,
Who's bringing the green beans? Casserole.
Kat, if you had to give it a number, what would you give it?
Well, a turkey should be evenly baked at a cool 450 degrees. So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 or a 5. It's not the best, but that being said, I definitely laughed out loud, and if you can make me do that, you get serious brownie points.
That's fair. Yeah, I was gonna go 5. I felt it was just kind of smack dab in the middle. Like, it's watchable. I didn't hate watching it, but it was lacking something that other episodes I've seen have, improved upon. Kat, you've watched the whole series again, right? Like recent. Yeah. So is there an episode that you would recommend to people to check out? Because who knows when we'll cover
what am I watching
both
next?
But
Okay. This is really upsetting. It's actually the second episode. I believe it's episode 2, when their teacher starts turning into a frogman, and they have the eggs. It is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. There's eggs and they're covered in fucking slime and shit. And he's making a sandwich and they accidentally swap out his sandwich spread with these like weird frog eggs. He's just slapping this like neon green shit on some fucking Wonder Bread. And it's got lumps and bumps and it's like, but it's engraved in my mind. And there's also a really funny love story that kind of goes on in that same episode. So I would definitely say that one. I think it's episode 2.
Episode 2. Well, maybe next time we cover Bone Chillers, we'll, because again, who knows what'll be next. I can tell.
Let me watch something real, please.
I can tell folks if they want to check out, we can be prepared for our next episode. Because we've got after this, we have 2 more episodes for this season, Kat. Can you believe it? We're actually wrapping up a season of our show. It's crazy to me.
It's unreal.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
And this is the first time and probably the last time we'll have the Hannas because they're never going to talk to us again after making them watch fucking Bone Chillers.
But
gave us good content. All right.
Be prepared, folks. We're going to watch Ginger Dead Man next episode. Yes,
See,
the Gary Busey classic.
Yes, we're getting into my neck of the woods.
Gary Busey? Is that what you just said?
Gary Busey. He is the voice of the Ginger Dead Man for the first one. I think there's 4 Ginger Dead Man movies.
He probably didn't need to change much with his voice.
Nope. Yeah.
To be scary.
He is. Yep. And he's in like the first 10 spoilers. He's in like the first 10 minutes until he dies, and then he voices the Ginger Dead Man. So that will be our holiday episode.
I'm gonna make this canon. Gary Busey was not given a script. He's just ad-libbing the whole movie.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I think somebody should make a Gary Busey slasher where it's just Gary Busey, like, as the killer.
Just hanging out in closets.
Just like jumping out and killing people. I'd be pretty scared.
His teeth are the weapon.
His teeth are the weapon. I'm gonna gnaw you. Just oh god, Gary Busey. Oh,
yes.
We're gonna have.
Please,
I think
Hannah's looking up a picture of him right
episode.
now. She forgot who he was. He's scary.
Thank you guys again for joining us. We really appreciate it, and thank you for having us on your show. We had a ton of fun doing that. So thank you,
of course,
Matt and Hannah. Of course.
Thanks for having us. And check us out, Horror Hour with the Hannas, and make sure you check on those iPad kids. All right, do not let them watch Bone Chillers.
Or do whatever.
It might be better. It might be
better than Skibidi Toilet.
Yeah.
I mean, well, on behalf of Frankenturkey and Gobbles, and Gobbles' sunglasses that he thought would hide his identity, We want to thank you for listening to this episode. We want to thank the Hannas for partaking in this bullshit. Hopefully they'll talk to us after this. And we hope that you all have a pleasant evening.
All right. Until next time, everyone.